Two of our favorite podcasts are crossing over every 2 weeks. Kate Achille of Up Next at Work and George LaRocque of WorkTech look at the tech, business, and people that impact our HR and WorkTech industry. It's a crosspod with a unique strategic lens on what's happening in our world. Enjoy!
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Up Next at WorkTech. I am Kate Achille. Hey George, how's it going?
It's going fine. Hi, Kate. I'm
Yeah.
excited for another Up Next.
Yes, we are back and we got a whole bunch to talk about today. So we will hop on in here with a story about how companies have decided that AI and AI usage is how they're going to decide who gets promoted. I guess Accenture was the first company that I saw most recently that they're going to use this specifically. It sounds like for managers, senior managers, and AI usage. And it sounds like how many times you log in is going to be a determining factor here, but not globally. They were a little vague on who this applies to. I guess not Europeans and not those in the US who are working on federal contracts.
Okay.
But everyone else, maybe? I don't know.
Just the fact that they have to say how many times you log in makes it kind of funny to me, makes it farcical, because part of the movement right now is we're really getting away from interfaces and getting into more fluid experiences, and the AI is helping. So the fact that I'm requiring managers to log in a certain, that's SaaS. That's not AI.
Yeah. Also, does that really make you leadership material?
Yeah.
Because you could follow the order to log into certain AI tool. I mean, I see their point was that using the latest tools and technologies shows that you're able to adopt to current technology trends. See that? I don't know. The way they phrased it, one of the quotes was, use of our key tools will be a visible input to talent discussions. They said a lot in very few words.
So if it's being used for pay and performance and promotions, then does the person who then creates an agent to log in multiple times a day, every day, do they get the biggest promotion? Do they get the...
That's already happened. So, because there's a mouse jiggler somewhere that's already...
The mouse, I forgot about the mouse jiggler.
The mouse jiggler is already, commanding the agent to continue logging in.
Excellent.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess that leads to a larger question too, and it's like, what does the next era of leadership look like if this is what development is going to be tied to?
Yeah, it's it feels like the antithesis of all the conversations we have about leadership and culture and
engagement.
Yeah, just how to treat your people. Those baseline metrics like logging in or how many conversations did you have or whatnot. Those are things that should be taken care of themselves. We should have an understanding of that, but we shouldn't be digging into that unless we have a bigger problem. Like if we have a problem in George's department, George, are you using these tools that we've given you for this? George, are you talking to your employees regularly? Are you checking in? Have you logged into, I don't know, whatever the agent is that takes a pulse of your team's sentiment, but not, this is like what's the old saying? Like the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's like is
that a Far Side comic? Because that's what it sounds like. Yeah, they also noted in the article I read that Accenture has entered into a number of partnerships recently with folks like OpenAI, Anthropic. So I mean, I guess they do have to maximize these relationships.
If we make them use it, they'll learn to like it. Eat your peas.
Yeah, but they're not the only ones. To be fair to Accenture, they're not the only ones because you did find a couple other companies.
Yeah. It's not just highfalutin consultants. Burger King is now so frontline hourly workers. They've released an agent called Patty.
Of course.
And Patty lives in, when you go to these fast food restaurants, they're all wearing headsets. And that's where Patty is. So Patty is 100% voice.
She's in your brain.
She's in your brain. It's kind of like the fast food version of Her, that movie Her, in a way. There's a demo. There's a demo video. We'll share the link. We'll put all of these articles in the notes, everything we found, but there's a video demo, and it starts with presumably a manager saying it looks like we had a good morning shift, and Patty's tracking how they're doing against their upsell goals. Patty's taking things off the menu, like milkshakes when they're cleaning the milkshake machine. And it all starts with a voice prompt, like a Siri, like hey Patty. And Patty is there, and Patty prompts them when Patty told them that they were running low on Diet Coke in the freestyle machine in the demo.
But what I think is interesting is they say in this article that they're not scoring people. That's it. They claim that, but then like 2 paragraphs later, they say that Patty is responding to the team's friendliness score. So they're not scoring individuals, but I guess they're scoring the team collectively. So like what happens like with these scores? Does the team get dinged like if they're unfriendly during a specific shift? So, and I'm asking this, hypothetically, obviously, but like
Yeah.
my first job was at McDonald's. And this was a million years ago, obviously. Like we lived way back in the primitive era, pre-AI, like we had the counters that were, tracking if we were, meeting the order times that we were supposed to hit.
Right.
Because I think it was 90 seconds at the counter and 60 seconds through the drive-through or something like that. And like we were held to that. And like it was not pleasant what you would be told at the end of the week, if your shift team hadn't met the goal. So what's Patty going to do with this information?
That's a great question. I did see in the demo that at the end of the shift, that manager was back and Patty told her that they did really well on some like sentiment type metric, So Patty's getting info somewhere, like is that through their app, maybe when a customer says they had a good experience, or.
So she is judging them in some way. We just don't know what she's doing with this. It's a bit nebulous. So far. Interesting. And then there was one other, and I think that was our friends at Google.
Yes.
That is not surprising to me that they're going to push folks to be using AI.
Well, so it not in the broad sense that, I mean, they're one of the big AI companies, but from another perspective, my wife was there for a little over a year. I didn't get the impression that there was an issue with people not using it. Like she would always talk about how they got access to the stuff that we don't have access to yet because the article points out and that they're really forced to use their own stuff. Like they do not license other people's software for just about anything. But there was an example with the salespeople where they are being told they have to use tools that record their calls and coach them. And there's a lot of that in sales. So, but I don't get the impression that anybody who's going to work at Google needs to be pushed that much. So I was a little surprised at that. Like, is this just PR to say, hey, don't forget about us? Or is there a real issue there? I don't know if that resonates with you at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Google's AI, I don't want to say issues, but their image, we'll say, with AI goes back a long time. I am a big fan of Meredith Whittaker, who's over at Signal. She was involved with the walkout years ago and the issues with the AI ethics council at Google. I don't even know if people remember that at this point. So I think Google always tries to tread lightly when it comes to use of AI internally, because they have run into problems in the past. I think is how I'll position that.
Okay.
And now, they do have a lot of people watching them closely. Meredith Whittaker went on to form AI Now Institute at NYU.
Okay.
So there are a lot of researchers who kind of use them as a case study because they have been very advanced, obviously, in the development. And because of that, they made some missteps.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But again, to be determined. Obviously, this is much like last year. This is going to be another year of all things AI all the time. We just can't escape it anymore. So
No,
we used to be
it's
able
here.
to, I feel like, pre-pandemic. I feel like it was a little easier to separate ourselves, maybe pre-ChatGPT. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But
It's definitely everything. To that end, you found, I think I fully support what I know you're about to proclaim.
yep, I'm putting a stake in the ground here for 2026. So, every year in HR tech, there tends to be a few phrases that take over the narrative, we'll say. A couple of years ago, skills-based hiring was everywhere. You couldn't escape
Yep.
it. Last year, agentic AI couldn't escape it. Obviously, that was a larger trend outside of HR tech also. This is going to be the year of the AI native turn of phrase. And I say that because we're already seeing it. And I did the legwork and I went over to my friend Google, actually, Google Trends. And I looked at the last 5 years of data and it was pretty telling. And it was flat. There was a teeny tiny blip in 2024. And then towards the end of last summer, around August specifically of 2025, it started to shoot up. Dipped a little in Q4, but everything dipped a little in Q4, I think. And now we're just seeing it skyrocket again. There was a company today or yesterday, actually. Let's see, today is February 26th when we're recording this. AI native hiring platform named, I believe it's ELLY. They just debuted and they raised $8 million in funding. I was talking to another company today that's going to do a product launch here sometime in the coming 6 months, I'd say. They were like, it's going to be an AI native product. So I think this is, at least for the first half of this year, AI native is going to be everything we hear.
I think
Maybe the whole year.
Yeah, no, go hard on this. This is definitely the whole year. There's some reasons for that, but it doesn't excuse the lazy, sloppy messaging that you're talking about. And that's the thing. They can all be AI native products that people are putting into the market, but that isn't the essence of what they are or what they do. And so I fully expect every booth at HR Tech, I think we're going to be seeing AI native everywhere that we walk in Vegas this October, on that.
Maybe sooner.
Every show. But the reasons are, so this Ellie could not have raised their 8 million if they weren't AI native.
Yeah.
And that's not just a message that the investors needed to hear. I did a piece this week about, I called it the WorkTech hourglass. And so you've got the platforms at the top of the hourglass. You've got the AI native specialists at the bottom of it. Squeeze in the middle are all the SaaS companies that move to AI that are not AI native, or even the AI native companies who are not really specialized, who are not really sort of surgical in the problems that they're solving. They're having trouble raising, they're having trouble selling, they're having trouble, period. And so that's one of the reasons why. And I think buyers now are leaning on their platforms and they're looking for that surgical solution to embed in the platform. And that's going to be AI native because it has to be. But nobody's out saying, I need an AI native. They're saying, I need to solve a payroll problem, a recruiting problem, but yeah.
Well, and you just reminded me of another point I was going to make, and why this message is probably going to extend beyond 2026, albeit in a different format. And that is because Gen Alpha is now aging into the workforce, and they are the first AI natives in the same way that the millennials were the first.
Are you tired of talent and HR podcasts that sound like corporate training videos? Same. Talentless is the no-fluff show about hiring, leadership, culture, and what's actually going on in the world of work. Talentless is a podcast for recruiters by recruiters. Hosted by Desiree Goldie and Ashley King, they're smart,
occasionally salty, and never afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe at talentlesspodcast.com.
Digital natives, and as much as I cannot stand the generational storylines,
Yeah.
because I am a millennial and we got the crap kicked out of us, we're going to hear AI native for the next 10 years, probably, as Gen Alpha until they're 30, I would say. And if they're only, I think the oldest Gen Alpha is maybe 18 at this point, those poor kids, they got another 10, 12 years of being called AI natives and being told what's wrong with them as a result of that. Buckle up, because it's coming.
Yeah, so much easier. Gen X, we were just apathetic. We didn't have...
And overlooked.
Yeah.
Also, this is a question, and this completely is not one of the things we were going to talk about, but I was wondering this one day, and that was, before millennials entered the workforce, did anyone care about generations? Like, was that a storyline anyone wrote about in the media? Like, I know Gen X was talked about a little bit in the 90s.
Yeah.
But, do I need to go back to microfiche and look? Because it's been an obsession for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it would be really cool to do that. So my anecdotal, perspective is that when you would hear it, it would be sort of like the puff piece in the news, whether it was television or whether you were reading something, there'd be they're filling space in the paper back in the day. And it was those darn kids that Gen X are so apathetic and they're, they just don't care. And I remember reading that about my own generation and thinking, I don't care about that. And, it's apathetic. But I was, but I did a bunch of research around that millennial emergence. And this was for HR tech and HR topics. And what I found, I did it year over year for about 3 or 4 years. What I found is that while the issues with that you could tie generationally are things like you're talking about, like you're digitally native or AI native, so the adoption of technology, things like that. Otherwise, it's really stage of life. The employees who care about compensation, or care less about compensation and will take a job for meaning over dollars, were both the folks at the end of their career who presumably had savings or whatnot, and early in their career where they could take more risk. In the middle, while they're building, they want the paycheck. And that was true year over year over year. And all of these things, it's more, so I would love to see if you're, I'd love to get the answer to that question.
Yeah. Again, maybe I'll go to Google. I wonder if Google could figure that out for me.
Yeah, it could.
They might only have, I don't know how far back they can index at this point, but that was one of those things that was keeping me up at night the other day.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to sleep more.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Another AI storyline that you pulled here about OpenClaw.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna get going. Like you need to, pull me, rein me in if I get going too. So. Okay, so our listeners, viewers might remember in the last couple of episodes, we talked about Moltbook, that is this social network for AI agents. And the thing we were talking about was how there were these security breaches. And this was not only is it creepy, but it was like vibe coded, and you had found it. There were all of this personal PII as well as credit card information, all sorts of stuff was exploited. So in the last couple of weeks, the world went nuts when OpenClaw was released, and put a pin in the Moltbook thing for a second. So OpenClaw is released, and it's an agent that you can install on your computer. And then it does, because you're installing it and you're embedding it in everything that you do, it can do amazing things for you. And I'm not going to name any names, but I saw multiple folks in this industry, very senior executive types that I respect and follow. That's why I saw what they were saying, just touting the future with OpenClaw. And then separately, I saw OpenClaw mentioned with Moltbook and Moltbot in the same sentence. And I thought, that's weird. Could they be related? And I did one simple Google search and found, yes, they are created by the same people. And already, just within the weeks of this being released, there were 30,000 compromised installations of OpenClaw on people's machines. So think about if you've got a compromised installation of anything from a security perspective, it's accessing, what do you have on your machine? You've got all your personal information. It's following you everywhere. It knows where you're going, where you've been. It's got your credit card information, all your credit card information, your banking information. Also, there are skills that you import from the OpenClaw marketplace. And these skills are like other little pieces of code of some sort, which then sit on your machine and somebody else is exploiting. So multiple hackers are coming in and can exploit you here. The other thing that was concerning is that, so these agents, as Moltbook demonstrates, they talk to each other. So let's say your agent has access to another agent, and because it's you, it has access to the agent at, I don't know, a bank. And because that connection is made, and then the agent at the bank has access to all the bank's information because it does whatever it does inside the bank. Well, now that the data can pass through. So they're using you and your skills and your connection to other agents to infiltrate other agents in other environments. It was just mind-boggling how it's another, like, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And also, just because somebody built it doesn't mean you have to install it the day they release it. Like, we can test it. We can watch it. It's amazing to me that we haven't learned these lessons. Anyhow, so that's off my pedestal, off my soapbox.
Yeah.
OpenClaw.
I think you hit on the right note there, and that's just because we can doesn't mean we should. It's the same with any implementation of anything. You're not going to implement it on day one. If an HR tech vendor was like, "Hey, we just developed this. Would you like to be we vibe coded this last night. Do you want to be our beta tester?" You would be like, "No." Chances are you'd be no. And if you said yes, your IT person would be like, "Absolutely not."
Right.
So I think we need to all adopt that same sensibility with all of these things that are being introduced right now, especially because particularly in the US, we don't have guardrails right now.
True.
And in fact, the few guardrails that we do have seem to be disappearing. I don't want to get too far into it, but you and I were talking before about the Anthropic situation with the DoD or the Department of War, or whatever we're calling them. Anthropic is up for a $200 million contract. The US government basically said, great, sure. In order to get that contract, you have to remove your safety policies or some of them. Anthropic has always, positioned themselves as the AI company with a soul. Apparently, they have decided that their soul has a price and it's $200 million. So again, this is not an advertisement for Google, but do a Google before you download anything.
Right.
It doesn't have to be Google. If you prefer a different browser, search engine, DuckDuckGo, whatever. Just please check it out before you.
That story. Somebody had posted just about the fact that safety statement it's been disappeared right off of their site, and how that. They were really questioning, what does this mean? I don't think they had connected it to the war frat yet. But the other thing that's going to happen here for them is a lot of their employees, they were able to attract a lot of really good people who really liked going to work for the company that they felt had a conscience. And one of them, I don't want to name any people here. It's a good thing, but I haven't talked to them about doing this. But a CTO from our space had sold their business and had gone to work there. And I saw that he had written a thing about, this was 3 months ago, how it was so important to him that he really wanted to work on this technology and drive this forward. That's what he had been doing before. And it was so meaningful to him to be working for the one that had principles, in his opinion.
The opportunity of a lifetime, or at least it seemed like it. Yeah.
Right. So there could be some people like internally there could be a walkout.
going
Yeah.
back to what I
Oh,
was saying
yeah.
about Meredith Whittaker. Well, and speaking of people looking for jobs, that brings us to reverse recruiting, another trend with some unpleasant aspects to it. Seems to be picking up steam, though. It's getting a lot of coverage right now, and there's a lot of this is a complicated one. It's a very complex situation. George, you brought up a good point though about, this has some deep roots though. This isn't new. It's just got kind of a pithy title right now. Our current media
Yeah.
landscape loves to give a name to any trend, but basically candidates are paying people to help them find jobs is sort of the short of it. So unfortunately, reverse recruiting is being used as a blanket term. So that's sweeping up legitimate career services under that, like resume writing, in addition to these sort of predatory agencies that are being created.
Yeah.
Some of them are using AI or have created products to apply on behalf of the candidates, promising that they'll get interviews or potentially jobs for them. Some of them are on Fiverr doing this or other sites like that. Read a bunch of these articles at this point. I've seen some broadcast coverage too, and I don't see a lot of people finding great success with this. It seems just to be that this is a down market and people are taking advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
in
disheartening.
the article you shared, it says that fees vary widely.
Mhm.
Some corporate staffers and executives are paying flat rates of between $2,000 and $10,000 plus in monthly retainers, and some take 10 to 20% of the career professional's first year salary. That can be a lot of money right off the top. And that's what I was saying earlier is this, it took me back to like the 70s and early 80s where in the temp staffing world, they would place people and take a fee or take a cut from the employee along with the employer cut. And I felt I might have been naive, but I thought we moved away from that because it was very predatory and it's think of it, your wage is cut by 10 to 20%. Most people, that's a big impact. And especially if they're using AI, there's what's the AI they should just be paying for the AI tool. To broadcast their resume, there's not a lot of value in that.
No. And again, to what I was saying, like there are people out there who offer career services who can help, I think in a more legitimate way for a lower cost, who have had wild success helping people. And I think are a little more genuine about this. Again, there's something that feels very predatory about this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are also, there are AI tools that are not helping the people that are using them. And there are AI tools that are helping. There are AI tools that are helping you create a better resume or profile in the way that a resume writer would help you with that. And they're not broadcasting your resume out to thousands of jobs. Others do that and they're not overcharging. I guess that's the dark side of capitalism is
I also
people
just
rushing.
like you could go sign up with staffing agencies. Like I've had success in my career, like working with staffing agencies, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can go take assignments, temp to perm. You can take contract work.
Yep.
Sometimes that's a great way to network yourself into your next career opportunity. I think that's overlooking that entire portion of, the job market. So I think that's kind of also being cut out of this conversation. Like I haven't seen staffing agencies talked about in a lot of these articles.
That's interesting.
I
think when you seeing this, it probably has everything to do with the job market, right? It has everything to do with people being vulnerable right now. That's the thing.
Well, and I think staffing agencies, there's a little bit of a stigma there. I don't think people totally understand that, like, you don't pay the staffing agency.
Right.
The employer is the one paying.
Well, we used to see even job boards come to market that wanted to charge candidates, and that never works. It never scales.
Some of them still do.
I know.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the industry and what's happening.
Yes.
Here in HR tech world with funding and equity. And we've seen a little bit here, a lot of funding. It seems like more than in the last few weeks.
Yeah, there have been a few deals for sure. Let's see. You had shared that Ellie, was that it? That was one of the that
was one of the
an $8 million raise.
8 million. Yep, that was an $8 million raise. I don't think it's specified. I'm assuming it's seed. It didn't really specify, I don't think, in the release. But that's the AI native hiring platform. Our friends at Phenom have once again made an acquisition. They are just on a tear, and this one is Be Applied, an AI-driven, not native, AI-driven, cognitive assessment solution. Yeah, Phenom is just picking them up lately.
Yeah.
Is this their second one of the year already? It's only February, so.
Yeah, they haven't made any big acquisitions, like really big ticket acquisitions.
Yeah,
but
but
they
I
make
am
some really
Phenom's
smart
in like
ones.
2 weeks, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. Don't worry. They got something up their sleeve.
Very interesting approach. I've had a lot of conversations with them about their approach to, and they're looking for they look to add value in their platform and in their business. So some acquisitions they're making are classic tech acquisitions where we're filling a gap in the product roadmap. We can do it faster with an acquisition. But some we're acquiring the founders because they're really smart. We want them on the team. Some are getting them they made one acquisition they told me about where this company had found a way to sell into government really efficiently. They liked that. So that was the big driver of that deal. And so time will tell how that all plays out, but they also rebuild all of the platforms that they acquire into their code base. So there's assimilation there. Once that goes live, once that's built in, the product's assimilated. So from that perspective, now the team and whether it's leverage driving revenue, we'll see, but it's really interesting. Most companies don't do that. That's not their way.
Phenom's had an amazing story, though. I mean, I worked with them 2 or 3 times, going back to when they were iMomentous, and then Phenom People, and now Phenom. They've had an amazing trajectory. And then we've got 2 Series A announcements this week, and Combo.
Yes.
So Comp raised $17.25 million. And this is the one where they are AI powered, and they seem to do everything from what I kind of gathered. I couldn't really nail this one down. It says they were recruiting, compensation policies, performance review. This one
I don't know them. So I assumed based on their name that it was compensation.
Same. Yeah. They're focused on Brazil, which is interesting.
Okay.
We don't see a lot of HR tech startups, in like the LATAM market.
Yeah.
But cool. But yeah, they're working with customers to design strategies for compensation, performance, and recruiting. So that's a lot. And of course they've got agents.
Of course.
So a little bit of everything with that one. They had a quote that mentions Rippling also.
Okay.
The quote was, "Rippling sells software to junior HR teams to make them more productive. We become the HR team."
Okay.
Yeah. Again,
so
I'm looking
an
for
outsourcing thing there. Yeah.
I'm looking for clarity in this one, and I was struggling a bit. But again, they're only at Series A, so maybe clarity is coming. But to your point, comp would make me think compensation specifically. Okay.
All right. So the other one was Combo with a K. And they raised a $25 million Series A. Combo, for I would say the last 2 to 3 years, they've been one of the integration partners, sort of hubs that the market's gravitated toward. So they've had success. The interesting thing about this to me is this is also, they're coming from an API world, not an AI world. And now with this announcement, they're talking about enabling the future world of agents. So integrating agents. So that when you hear that, there's another 3-letter acronym, the MPC world, that tends to be talked about. So I don't know that this, is it an evolution? Is this money going to help them pivot? I don't know. But the thing about not about Combo, but all of those companies, is that they only get you so far from an integration perspective. So when I'm looking at startups and early stage companies, first they talk about the one or two platforms they integrate with. And it's usually like anybody can integrate. They get access to that company's API just like any developer could. Then they move to a Combo, but Combo is standardizing the flow of data. So the platforms aren't just opening up for everyone to have access to everything. So at some point you graduate to where you have more strategic integrations and you're doing more bespoke work.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of start with the API, go to a Combo, and then go back to an API to have a deeper integration. So I'm really curious how the world of AI supports or doesn't support the growth of a Combo. So it'll be a good one to watch. But a lot of folks that we know in the industry, Acadian's involved there,
Mm-hmm.
Volition Capital. So they're pretty smart with their money. So I would bet there's a good plan.
And Combo's global, aren't they?
Yeah, they are global.
Yeah.
They
So
are.
they're a global one, which obviously sweetens the deal for a lot of folks. And then one last one, which is a local one, hyper-local actually, and that was Jersey Hired, the Garden State's leading hyper-local job board and talent platform. They secured $250,000 strategic investment.
Good for them.
Which I kind of just loved the fact that people are still launching, hyper local job boards. And it does specify that they are using this money for AI driven matching algorithms. So even the hyper local ones are going for AI driven, which kind of cracked me up because really cannot escape anywhere.
Yeah.
But obviously, actually, this comes at a very important moment here in the Great Garden State because, I've mentioned in earlier episodes about, we have this burgeoning film industry popping up here, and Netflix just posted the first 2 jobs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So here right by my house. And I think both of them are basically like going to be the director positions for the campus that's opening by my house.
Okay. Nice.
So perfect timing for Jersey Hired.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't remember which one it is, but there's another studio that is opening in, I can't remember which one.
Bayonne.
Okay. Paramount. Yeah.
Paramount is opening 6 studios in Bayonne and then Netflix here in Monmouth County at the old Fort Monmouth.
Wow.
We're
exciting.
Battling it out with Hollywood. Who knew? So
successfully battling it out at the moment.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of tax incentives going for it.
That's right.
But that brings us here to the end and to our Rose and Thorn. What do you got?
Rose and Thorn. Well, I am going to say that my thorn was not the blizzard, because the blizzard would have been the thorn. But then I have to tell you, when schools were delayed yesterday morning and it was like another dusting of snow, to me, that was like a middle finger from the universe to those of us around here saying, that was my thorn.
Yes.
My most recent thorn. There are many things going on in the world that I would count as thorns, but that stung this week. That stung. It's personal. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt very personal.
Yeah.
So what's the rose?
The rose is, and it's related in some ways to our industry and what we like to talk about. So I have this experience looking at the industry and I'm reading a lot, talking to a lot of people about the fact that, and this is a true statement, it's difficult for young people coming out of school to find jobs. It's difficult for them to get internships. Things are really changing there. Yet my rose is that my daughter, who's a junior in college, she's basically overwhelmed with internship offers. And so I have this that's a sample size of 1, and it has a lot to do with how she applies herself and all of that. But I do see all of her peers are also getting internships. and she has friends that are seniors who are getting jobs lined up. And I wonder what the disconnect is with, if I wasn't reading the headlines, I'd be thinking there's a market out there. And, is it UNC? Is that the disconnect? Is it, they're all over, from finance to healthcare to biotech. Like it's not one industry. But anyhow, my roses, that's the rose. And it's got me thinking about how could we change that experience for for a larger number of students or young people. So,
well, and I say this having entered the job market pretty much into the Great Recession. Some of that has to do with like exactly when you enter. Like the kids that graduated last year, you couldn't have predicted that timing.
Right. That's a really good point.
And I saw that happen to my peer group too, where like I happened to hit at the right moment, but the people the grade behind me were screwed, and some of them never caught up. So like when we tell the millennial story, like, and the people who like, about avocado toast and buying houses and all that stuff, it really has to do, like, it's year by year. It very much is.
That's a great point.
And now that I have, hindsight being 2020, and I look back, we were all at such like, and this is why I don't like the generational storyline as much. I was a senior in high school when 9/11 happened. It's really hard to compare me to someone who was 10. Emotional intelligence and ability to process things like that, totally different. So like, how can you then compare where my life trajectory went to somebody who was at that point in their life?
Yeah.
So this is why I take umbrage with all of that. We can talk about that another day.
Right.
But that might be some of what is happening too, because this generation is now the COVID generation. And so they're going to be impacted by, you know what I mean? Like they've had major life experiences in potentially a similar way that mine did, obviously very different experiences. But again, it's really hard when you're trying to compare people that it's like 15 years of different ages.
Yeah.
How do you rank our career paths and say that we're all the same when I'm 17 and somebody else is 7?
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. And even now, I'm in my 40s and we're talking about comparing me to somebody who's 29.
Right.
Like very different.
The thing, what hit me the most out of everything you just said right there, that you were a senior in high school when 9/11 happened. That is, okay.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Feeling.
Whole other story. Yeah, I know that probably just made a whole bunch of people like tuning out now. Don't want to listen to Kate anymore.
Not true.
But
Not true.
Yes. Anywho, I have lots of stories about that.
And now your rose and thorn, or thorn and rose, whichever direction you want to take.
Yes. So my thorn for the week, the never-ending winter is definitely one of them. And I've already gone after the groundhog. I'm still mad at him. No, I'll just lean into my rose. And my rose is that I'm starting to plan the rest of my 2026. I've started buying tickets for summer stage concerts here. I've started booking tickets for things, for, trips that I'm taking. So we're starting to look ahead.
Nice.
I think that's a good thing.
It's that time. It's
that time.
Yeah.
It's that time. And honestly, I'll go with a very silly thorn, and that's just that I can't find anything good to watch right now. I'm really struggling.
It is very in between. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find anything good to watch. And I am still really pissed about the Team USA hockey thing.
That bothered me.
Yeah. Mostly because, and I'll tell you the part that bothered me the most, and that is the statements that came out in response. And the reason it bothered me is because there are crisis communicators, there are lawyers, there are experts who presumably would have been involved. Where were they? Do better. So those are some of my many gripes. But I think looking ahead to the summer stage is really the high note to end on.
One more thing about the hockey thing. I got duped more than once there were these AI videos created of the captain of the women's hockey team. Can't remember her name. Katie. Right. And it duped me, but they were messages that I was like, that's right. And then I realized, this is AI. This isn't her.
Yeah, that's awful.
But she was on a panel or something somewhere, and somebody asked her about it, and her response was, not surprisingly, even better than what duped me with the AI. She was so. I'll send it to you. I thought, wow, if you want an American to be proud of, she's one. So yeah. But warmer days are ahead for sure.
And lots of industry events. So we're going to have a lot to
Yes.
talk about here in the month of March.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll be back.
We'll be
All right.
back. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to or watching Up Next at WorkTech, brought to you by the Work Defined Podcast Network, the Devon Group, and WorkTech.